with this week's episode. Lots to talk about. Histories, castles, music, the show, the past, the present, the future, everything. But we may as well start with the etymology. Edinburgh combines the Celtic and Old English languages. Edwin's fort. Burr from English fort, hillside, settlement. Edinburgh, as you say in America. It was a Mesolithic site dating back to 8500 BC, before that chap on the cross.
Tim, some days it's just not worth getting off the cross for.
And settlements have been found on Arthur's Seat, beautiful outcrop that you can still visit today. I didn't get a chance to this time, but I will one day. Got to leave something for the future. Castle Rock, which is where you can see the castle, also to this day, which has a steep history. One of the earliest settlements when the Romans came up to Edinburgh, they found a settlement there, a Brittonic tribe called the Votadini. Sounds Italian, doesn't it? Babidi-bibidi-bopi.
Peter, you can't just talk Italian because you got a moustache.
From a TV show. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know, it's YouTube. The Votatini became a friendly buffer state with the Romans. They did come in, but decided that they would make their border with Hadrian's Wall the northern point of their English and European empire. The people of Edinburgh were not underneath the rule of the Roman Empire. It wasn't until the 12th century when King David I came up to Edinburgh and granted the town its royal burghness. As such, it became one of Scotland's earliest royal boroughs. At this point, merchants were granted plots of land on a very long market street. They were offered this land under one condition, that they built a house within a year and a day. So you've got the street coming down, but then with all these little roads coming off the back of it and the houses and the shops, you get these, it comes from the French word clos for close. You get these private yards that built up on the where the shops were, and to this day you still have these alleyways that are going around that all end in the word close. Full of stairs, full of beauty and angles as you're going around. You're always going to see something interesting and wonderful down these alleyways. But interestingly, from this image that we can see here, you've got the street coming down and then this valley goes off. If we look at modern day Edinburgh, this area is now the modern town. This valley comes through and you have these bridges that go across. You imagine that when it got wet, all of the slop from the higher ground. Bear in mind also these buildings were quite high and you had these windows coming out, but they didn't have plumbing and draining systems. What did the Romans ever do for us? Maybe that. So they'd get their chamber pots and they'd throw them out the window and down on your head. Now that wasn't very nice, was it? No. So to work with the people on the street, what they did was shout "Dartiloo" as they threw it out. Watch for water. 100 years of wheeze and poos built up in that area, and it's where the poor people had to live. The rich didn't want to have to see these people, share any form of life with these people, so they built the bridges that went across this valley. But you can't really tell you're on a massive bridge across the valley because they built these buildings up alongside it. The first half of them were stone, which you can still see today. The second top of it was made with wood, and there was a lot of fires. Bearing in mind you didn't have electricity, so you'd be using a candle. If you could afford one, that would maybe you'd fall asleep and burn the house down. Now, this is where it gets really dark. If you became homeless, you would be sent down into the valley area. It became illegal for you to come into the town area where the rich were living, where the merchants were having their day-to-day. We don't want to deal with this riffraff, they smell. Ugh. If you came up, you were likely to get arrested. If you got arrested, there was a strong possibility that they would chop all of your limbs off and then hang them on the police station in the centre of town. This police station was horrible. You had to walk past it to get to wherever it was that you were going, and all you would see is these body parts smelling. Obviously, you got the sun coming down, beating on it. Ugh, the vibe of that must have been absolutely disgusting. And it wasn't like you could avoid it. Where did you pay your taxes? At that police station. So you had to go there to pay your dues and be kept in order. So it made you work hard at least. You didn't want to end up like that or down there. To make a bridge, you need to have arches. They decided with all the merchants on the top that they would put this as their storehouses and we could grow the economy that way. Unfortunately, the stone was very porous, so water and the rain and everything was coming down through the bridge onto all of their stock. So it lasted about 70 years before, right, we're not doing that anymore. And they just became abandoned. Now, it wasn't long before the homeless living on the street down in the bottom of the valley that's full of wee and poo decided, oh, we could go and live in there. I mean, that seems like a solid idea, right? You've got the city down below and you've got the city up above. What could be worse? These vaults, like I say, dripped. But you've got the street with people up on top. Gare de l'eau, wees and poos coming down through the rock, getting dripped on as you lay there sleeping. It would have been pitch black living in there. Crime obviously rose. The police never went down in to check it out, so it was just running free. There was murders, there was brothels, opium dens, all sorts of bad things. I don't even want to really list them out. If you can think it, it was worse. The famous William Burke and William Hare, the body snatchers from legend and film and books, would come and get bodies from here to take to the science area to have the bodies cut up so that they could be investigated. Science made huge leaps and bounds with understanding of biology and anatomy because of Burke and Hare, but how you got there wasn't necessarily the most ethical. Now, it got so bad that they decided to get it gone and boarded up all of these vaults, and that was in 1870. It's now 1970. Life is evidently a bit different in the world. We've made an exponential shift into finding comfort, and two chaps were in one of their bedrooms in their flat, we're having a few bevies and kicking a football around until one of them hit the wall and it made a hollow thunk. Well, after a few more beers, out comes a sledgehammer. They break through the wall. All the vaults were then suddenly found. The council was approached and they were like, yeah, they are there, but they're not really that good for us. And so a lot of the vaults are still very much closed up to this day. You can go and visit on a vault tour. I will mention it because it was fantastic. I felt something, was it just in the mind? Does it happen because I believe it? I don't know. Well, the Wiccan witches were there and they didn't enjoy it and they've since gone. All this to say, I was staying in the Grass Market, which is a beautiful part of Edinburgh, and I was feeling all bougie and like, oh, I'm going to get my coffee in the morning and there's a lovely pub with some live music on. Why not enjoy it outside of the theatre time as much as inside of the theatre time? To then look around the area and realise that this is where some of the darkest poverty and hell happened, and only a little while ago. Now, another little interesting tidbit, if you were considered an adult at the age of 9 in Edinburgh in the olden days, and if you were caught swearing as an adult, grabbed by the tongue with the metal tongs and was taken to the door in the centre, stuck to here, and then nailed the tongue to the door for 24 hours. Now, if you were under 9 years old, no, they weren't that harsh because that's mad, right? So what they'd do if they were caught you swearing is grab you by the ear and off you would be taken onto the door for 24 hours. Now, an 8-year-old kid, I don't want to be here. And they would pull and release themselves that way and scamper off. But if you've ever heard the term a tearaway, this is where it comes from. When I was younger, I wasn't very well for a little bit, and during that illness, I had a Walkman with the little thing, put the cassette tape in, click, click, and I had this story called Greyfriars Bobby. And I loved this story and I listened to it again and again. And the long and the short of the story is that this policeman, John Gray, was a good chap in the city of Edinburgh, did well and had his dog, Bobby. Unfortunately, the policeman died and the dog is known to have sat by his master's graveside until the dog passed away. But there is this lovely pub called the Greyfriars Bobby in Edinburgh, and it has a statue of Bobby on the outside, and to this day, he is considered good luck to just tap him on the nose as you walk past. And just to say, if you've got this far, comment Bobby in the comments. Woof, woof. There is also the pub of Deacon Brodie, who in his time was a well-respected member of society, but unbeknownst to all of his highfalutin friends, he also had a dark other life. He was a big old burglar. Anyway, there is a great film with one of my heroes in it, Billy Connolly, about Deacon Brodie, so check that film out. It's very, very good. And they also have this pub to commemorate him there. Isn't it weird that if you're a rapscallion, you're sometimes remembered with more reverence because you did something in society that you're not supposed to and got away with it? I don't know, but I find things like this where we go, yeah, he was a burglar. Yeah. But if you were burgled now, would you be making a pub about this person and going, what a legend? No. We are a weird old bunch. And of course, I do have my own personal history with Edinburgh as well. My first trip here, I was on a very small scale theatre tour. We arrived in the morning, didn't see anything, did the show, left, and it was dark. So all I remember was these big grey buildings. Second return to Edinburgh was for the Edinburgh Festival with Choir of Man.
Cannot go to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star.
And that was great fun, an excellent period of my life where I fell in love with, well, just the city. Edinburgh is just about the right amount of nuts for me. Everyone respects your space, but if you got something to say, they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then they sort of let you go. But everywhere you go, there's something to look at. There's a way to be. There's a way to be you. Ooh, I adore this city. Something chronic. I've got chronic Edinburgh love. Can I mention Harry Potter was written here? I don't know if I can. Probably not. The theatre was very nice. Well, here we are, Edinburgh. Edinburgh Festival Theatre. Wowee. That's a biggie.
Oh, this is pretty.
Yes. The Festival Theatre has been on this site for a long time. 1830 was when it was built first. It was first known as the Empire Palace Theatre, first of the Moss chain of Empire Theatres, and was designed by John Matcham, who also designed the Colosseum in London. In 1911, there was a big fire. The 3,000 people managed to get out without any issue in 2.5 minutes. But on stage and backstage, 11 people died, including Sigmund Nürburger, who was taking his final bow. Imagine that, you're on there taking your final bow. I laugh, it's tragic. The way we see it today is after its third major remodelling and this wonderful glass frontage, and is now renamed the Festival Theatre after all of the events that it's hosted. It used to be a bingo hall in 1960, then a big music venue, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Wishbone Ash, Free, all played there. It was an absolute joy being there. There was a book after warm-up on the first day that we could see that had the wages that the actors were paid during their time there. Averaged at around $250 a week, so in those days that's, you know, not too bad. But how much, Jane?
Yes,
There we go.
First floor.
Oop, already open. Interesting. Oh, it smells nice in here. Any of you on my video this week? Always with the bum Fergus, aren't you?
Yeah, get that in the video. My magic mic.
Have you enjoyed Edinburgh?
Yeah. Edinburgh's been great.
What's been your favourite bit of Edinburgh?
Jazz bar.
In the Grass Market, there is a famous ice cream shop that there's always a massive queue there, so I tried a little bit of that. Goat's cheese and figs. Ah, fuck off. The show was received very well indeed, and it was lovely to go and meet a lot of the fans afterwards and get some signings in. Edinburgh is just amazing so far. Look at all these people that have come to Stage Door, and I'm trying to get away, and the fans just want to hound you.
You're just so beautiful, man.
Beautiful. What was that, your hound? And some lovely pens as well to do some signings with, so that's always a pleasure for me. I love a good pen. Even a biro can be fantastic. As a nice little outro, here's an anecdote about Ben. He likes to exit the theatre within the shortest amount of time possible after the last show on a Saturday. At this one, he was absolutely adamant that he was going to get out in less than 3 minutes, maybe even a minute. He'd cleared the dressing room, he'd gone downstairs, he'd got everything prepared at his chair. So we thought it pertinent to mess and play with him. We tied his shoelaces together. Now, I tied them very loosely so that if he had kept his mind, he would have been out of there in 10 seconds. But, as I hoped, he got flustered and tightened the knot, which took him extra time to get out. Sam Holmes had the same idea, but I'd already tied his shoelaces together, so Sam filled his shoes with toilet paper. And it then took him longer to get out, and we all had a good old laugh at Ben's expense. But we do love you, Ben.
Oh, goodness, we've done it as well.
Is that out of here in less than a minute?
Well done, Richard.
Richard Lock, you're getting topless for the...
All that being said, that wraps up Edinburgh. There was so much more, but the video is already coming in at 16 minutes. All this to say, the next stop is Liverpool. We are going to the home of the Beatles. We are going to where 70% of people related to the Irish. So, next stop, Liverpool.